Peloton's business arc. It was the darling of the pandemic economy, a brand that promised to bring the energy of a spin class right into your living room. Peloton wasn't just selling bikes, it was selling belonging, motivation, and identity. At its peak, it was worth $50 billion. But within just 2 years, that dream would come crashing down. Layoffs, plunging stock prices, public recalls, a CEO ousted. How did a company that revolutionized home fitness almost collapse under its own weight? And can it make a comeback? You're about to see how Peloton pedaled its way to the top, and how a few fateful decisions nearly broke it. The idea for Peloton was born out of frustration. It was 2011. John Foley, a former Barnes & Noble executive, loved boutique fitness classes. But between his job and family, he couldn't find time to go. So, what if you could bring that studio experience home? Not just a spin bike, but a bike connected to a live community, with real-time instructors, music, and energy. Foley pitched the idea, but venture capitalists weren't interested. They saw it as a hardware play in a world obsessed with software. So he crowdfunded it. In 2013, Peloton launched a Kickstarter campaign. It raised $300,000, just enough to get started. The company built its own bikes, its own software, its own studio, a vertically integrated approach most startups wouldn't dare attempt. But Peloton wasn't just building a product. It was building a movement. By 2014, Peloton had shipped its first bikes. But the real genius? Peloton wasn't in the business of selling hardware. It was in the business of monthly subscriptions, $39 per month for unlimited classes, metrics, and leaderboards. People loved it. Customers felt connected not just to instructors but to each other. The instructors became stars. Robin Arzon, Cody Rigsby, Alex Toussaint. They weren't just trainers, they were influencers, coaches, friends. And then, 2020 happened. The COVID-19 pandemic shut down gyms overnight. Peloton became the fitness solution for millions stuck at home. Sales exploded. Revenue doubled. The stock soared by over 440%. Suddenly, Peloton was everywhere. In homes, in headlines, in culture. Celebrities flaunted their bikes. SNL made sketches about it. Even President Biden had one. Peloton was no longer a product. It was a phenomenon. But when a company rises that fast, the fall can be even faster. At the height of its power, Peloton made a bold assumption that the pandemic boom was permanent. But they were wrong. As demand surged in 2020 and early 2021, Peloton doubled down. It spent over $400 million to acquire a U.S. manufacturing company. It ordered parts in bulk. It hired thousands of employees. It even planned to build a massive $400 million factory in Ohio. To keep up with orders, it flew bikes in on chartered cargo planes. At first, it looked like a power move. Investors cheered. Growth was exponential. Peloton had to scale fast, right? But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. By mid-2021, something changed. Gyms reopened. Lockdowns ended. People started going back outside. Suddenly, Peloton's growth slowed. Inventory piled up. Bikes sat in warehouses unsold. Then came the PR nightmares. A tragic accident involving a child and the Peloton Tread Plus led to a recall of over 125,000 treadmills. The brand, once known for sleek safety and community, was now facing lawsuits and backlash. And just like that happened. In the first episode of the Sex and the City reboot, Mr. Big dies of a heart attack after riding a Peloton bike. The scene went viral. Peloton stock dropped 11% overnight. The company scrambled to control the damage, even creating a parody ad with actor Chris Noth and instructor Jess King. But the damage was done. By the end of 2021, the company had lost $40 billion in market value. In early 2022, the pressure reached a boiling point. Investors were angry. Analysts called the company bloated, overconfident, and mismanaged. The board forced out CEO John Foley, the founder who had built Peloton from scratch. He was replaced by Barry McCarthy, a former CFO of Netflix and Spotify. His job? Stop the bleeding. Layoffs began. Over 4,000 employees lost their jobs in waves. Factories were shut down. Peloton outsourced manufacturing. Retail stores closed. And the once massive Ohio factory project? Canceled entirely. By mid-2022, Peloton was no longer a growth story. It was a turnaround case. But McCarthy had a plan. Instead of chasing hardware sales, he focused on subscriptions. Instead of owning everything, Peloton would partner, license, and rent. The company started selling on Amazon for the first time. It launched a bike rental program. And perhaps most surprising of all, Peloton said it would open its digital classes to people without Peloton equipment. Was this a sign of desperation or a strategic evolution? You're about to find out how Peloton is trying to rebuild what it once had. By 2023, Peloton wasn't chasing headlines anymore. It was chasing profitability. Under Barry McCarthy's leadership, the company underwent a quiet but intense transformation. Costs were slashed. Distribution was streamlined. Most critically, Peloton began decoupling its identity from the bike. Instead of forcing customers to buy $2,000 equipment, Peloton leaned into its true product, the experience. So what is Peloton now? It's no longer a unicorn story. It's not the Wall Street darling it once was, but it's still here, still pedaling.